Have you heard of infinite banking, cash flow banking, be your own banker? If you have, congratulations. You've uncovered a big secret of the wealthy. Now, the next step is to understand how it all works. And if you've tried to, but you've gotten weighed down with this complicated, confusing explanation, you're tired of the spreadsheets and all the financial jargon, then you're in the right spot. Because what we're going to do is we're going to dumb this thing down to help you uncover and understand how this works and if it's beneficial for you. Hey everybody, I'm Matt.
And I'm Brian, and we're the Predictable Wealth Advocates. And what we do is we help ambitious millennials like yourself secure a predictable financial future without sacrificing your current lifestyle by thinking outside of the box. And so in today's video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down the infinite banking, cash flow banking, becoming your own banker, and asset. There's all kinds of different names for it. We're gonna break it down in very simple terms because let's be real, it can get very confusing very quickly. And I remember, Matt, you were telling me about when you first heard about the concept, and you're a doctor, you're not a dumb dude whatsoever, but you heard about it. Tell us what happened when you first heard about it.
So I was at a meeting and there was an agent there and he wanted to share a little bit about what he did, which was infinite banking. And his whole title of the talk and description was about the Rockefellers and all these other wealthy people that were utilizing this strategy. And immediately I was compelled because well, yeah, I want to be like them. It's a secret. I want to find out more about it. And in about 2 or 3 minutes, everything he had explained had just gone over my head. My eyes were glazed over. I wanted no more to do with it because it was just so confusing. There was all this technical jargon, graphs and pie charts and things that I just didn't understand, didn't want to know about. It's just too much. And a couple days down the road, I was hit with a podcast. And the podcast, same thing. How to use infinite banking. And same problem. Too complicated. I didn't understand any of it. I didn't want to know all the details. Just wanted to have an understanding of how it worked for me. And it wasn't until you started to talk to me about how you were utilizing it and you broke it down into simple layman's terms that I was able to understand and grasp the idea and finally implemented it.
It's the only way I understand it. I'm a simple guy. So that's what we're going to do for you. We're going to break it down in simple terms so that you can understand it and decide whether you want to move forward with it or not move forward with it, but at least understand it.
And you can thank us later for breaking this one down for you.
When I first got introduced to this concept, I definitely didn't know the rules of the money game or the best way to put my dollars to work for me. All I knew is that I wanted to somehow create a situation where at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, I wouldn't have to show up and work for money anymore if I didn't want to. And what I learned is that our future lifestyle, your future lifestyle, is determined by what we choose today with each of those dollars. And unfortunately, most people are sabotaging that desired lifestyle because they're unknowingly playing the money game by the wrong rules. I mean, imagine trying to win a game of basketball playing by the rules of golf. But even worse, there's a lot of smart, hardworking people who are sitting on the sidelines right now because they just don't know where to start. Have you ever thought to yourself, what should I be doing with my money? Because what we're going to show you next is a great place to start. Because it's not so much of an investment as it is a foundational asset. Meaning, it's a tool that helps set you up for everything else that you want to do. More on that later. And by the way, if you're already a seasoned investor who has made millions, or an entrepreneur who has already made millions, you'll quickly see why other millionaires are deciding to implement this strategy into what they're already doing. But now let's go ahead and break this down. Let's break it all down to its simplest form. You and I, we earn money doing something. And when we earn that money, we really have just 3 choices, don't we? We can either spend it, save it, or invest it. We can spend it on things like going out to dinner, buying tires for our car, paying off debt, or going on vacation. We can save it by putting it into a savings account or stashing cash underneath your mattress, or invest it, like putting money into stocks, real estate, mutual funds, startups, crypto, so on and so forth. And common knowledge would say that we have to choose where each of those dollars goes, right? We can either go out to dinner or we can put that money into our savings account. We can either put that dollar into real estate or we can pay off debt. We can either save for our kids' college or we can go on vacation. We think we have to choose. And if you weren't using the infinite banking concept, or as some call it, the and asset, you would be right. But infinite banking opens up the possibilities to give that same dollar that you earn multiple jobs or multiple uses, so that essentially you can use your money and grow it at the same time. And that's why so many people do call this the and asset, because when you use this strategy, you don't have to pick. It's not an either or. You can do both. You can do infinite banking and do real estate. You can do infinite banking and pay off debt. You can do infinite banking and go on vacation. In a couple minutes, I'm going to give you some examples to show you exactly how this is possible. And if you're wondering why you've never heard of this before, you have to check out one of our other videos where we uncover those specific reasons. Now, before we continue, I think it's vital to understand why it's so important to give your dollar multiple jobs, or in other words, be able to both grow it and use it at the same time. Because if you're the type of person who cares about securing a predictable financial future so that at some point you no longer have to show up to make money, let me ask you a question. What is the very best thing that you could do with the next dollar that you earn? Obviously, only you can answer that question, but maybe you've never sat down and taken the time to really answer that question before. But isn't it a question worth figuring out, like now? What is the very best thing that you could do with the next dollar that you earn? Put it into real estate, 401k, IRA, buy a house, pay down debt, go on vacation, buy stocks, crypto, gold, silver, put it in savings or a money market account, mutual funds, the list goes on, right? Now, before I answer, I want to give you a little context around the answer by sharing a personal experience with you. See, several years back, I flew across the country to buy a high net worth individual dinner and interview him about his success. Because I believe if there's any shortcut to success, it's learning from people who have already accomplished what you want to achieve. So that night, sitting in a dim corner of this high-end Nashville steakhouse, looked across the table and I asked him one of my final questions. I asked, if you only had $100,000 to your name, what would you do with it? And what he shared with me next was very unexpected. He told me that he would start by putting it all, he said all, into a properly structured whole life insurance policy, borrow against the cash value right away, and invest in cash flowing real estate. Now, if you're anything like me, you're wondering, probably, why wouldn't he just put that $100,000 into real estate from the get-go? Why would he run it through a whole life insurance policy? And here's what I learned. Because this man knew one thing to be true that most people don't know. He knew that the very best thing that you could do with that next dollar that you earn is to put it someplace where that dollar can start growing and compounding for the rest of your life without losses, taxes, fees, or even use. And it just so happens that the best place to do that is a properly structured, dividend-paying, overfunded whole life insurance policy. It's a mouthful, isn't it? And if you think about it, it seems really strange because when we think about insurance, don't we normally think about death benefit? I think most people do. And I think that's the reason that so many people don't take the time to understand the power of infinite banking. That is, if they're lucky enough to hear about it in the first place. Because they may have heard negative things about whole life insurance. They've been led to believe that the best type of insurance is to get the cheapest kind of insurance called term. And their favorite gurus preach to their followers to get term and invest the difference, and to never, under any circumstances, buy whole life insurance. Now, if your goal is death benefit alone, then sure, get term and invest the difference. But maybe you should also know that according to a recent Penn State study, 99% of term policies never pay out a claim. They're simply a huge profit center for insurance companies. Anyways, what we're talking about today isn't about death benefit alone. And to be fair, those gurus, they're right. Normal whole life insurance policies don't make sense for most people, if you ask us. Normal whole life policies are a huge profit center for the agents who are selling them. However, a properly structured, overfunded, dividend-paying whole life insurance policy can set you up to secure a predictable financial future. And that's why we exist. What we do is we connect you with vetted agents who know how to do this for you. And few people know this, but these type of agents typically earn 50 to 70% less commission than normal whole life agents because they're setting up the policy for your max benefit. And there are many more reasons why people want us to connect them with our vetted agents, but we'll talk more about that in another video. What I want to talk about today is the 5 main reasons why successful people choose to have a qualified agent set up a policy for them so they can use this as a part of their financial strategy in their life. So here we go. The first reason, the dollars that they put into a policy grow for the rest of their life. And if you understand the power of compound interest like Albert Einstein did, then you want those dollars compounding without interruption for the rest of your life. So with infinite banking, it's pretty common to get a 3 to 5% annual rate of return, which really isn't all that impressive. But considering the fact that it's growing tax-free, just to give you some comparison, that would kind of like be earning the equivalent of 5 to 8% in a taxable environment. That starts to become significant for many reasons. Plus, you aren't taking traditional risk with your money where a market crash can wipe out years of your hard work without warning. So let me ask you, what would it feel like to have your money growing consistently year in and year out without worrying about what the markets are doing? See, financially successful people understand the value of having your dollars grow for the rest of your life. However, most people, they kill the possibility of uninterrupted compound interest every time that they use a dollar, which at the end of the day means that they will just have to work harder and longer to create the lifestyle that they desire. Which leads us to the second reason why successful people use this strategy in their life. See, when you want to go on vacation, pay down debt, or invest in something like real estate, you can actually borrow against the cash value in your policy to do so. And when I first heard this, I asked, well, why would I borrow against the cash value in my policy when I could just do something like pay with cash? And really more than anything, looking back, that question exposed my ignorance around the value of getting uninterrupted compound interest. Maybe you can check out a calculator sometime. Todd Langford has a calculator program called Truth Concepts. I think it's around $3,000 to purchase, $1,500 a year, or one of our vetted agents can show that for you using that tool. But let's put that aside for a moment because it's true. Interrupting compound interest is a colossal error if you care about securing a predictable financial future. That being said, let me give you just one basic example how a person might use infinite banking so that they can give the same dollar multiple jobs. For instance, let's say that you put money into a properly set up and structured whole life policy where it grows. Then you decide to borrow against the cash value to, say, purchase an investment property which produces positive cash flow and appreciates in value. Again, very simple example, but now you have 2 assets growing for you at the same time using the same dollar. Kind of crazy to think about. And this happens because you didn't use your money to purchase the investment property. You used the insurance company's money while your money continues to grow and compound uninterrupted. And sure, you pay the insurance company back like you would with virtually any type of loan. Usually it's around a 5% interest rate. But despite the interest paid, you still come out on top if you have an agent who can show you how to utilize this correctly. And that's why the wealthy individual that I flew out to interview, that's why he didn't put that $100,000 straight into real estate, because he would have limited his dollar to just having one job. And by the way, if you don't know how collateralized loans work, we have a detailed video where you can watch and really how it demonstrates why this is more effective than doing something like paying cash. So if you'd like to have 2 assets growing for you at the same time using the same dollar so that you can create your desired lifestyle without working any harder, then you might consider checking out our masterclass below and applying to work with one of our vetted agents who can help you. All right. The third reason why successful people choose to utilize this as a foundational strategy is because of its ability to create an abundant retirement. I mean, let's face it, so many people follow traditional financial advice, which means they're forced to live on less income than they were making while they were working. So, during a time that they should be enjoying their golden years, traveling the world, and enjoying their grandkids, they're often pinching pennies, hoping that their money doesn't run out on them before they die. I mean, sorry to sound morbid, but that's the cold truth. Let me ask you, if you could implement this strategy into your life and hypothetically live on $50,000, $100,000, or $300,000, maybe even more, every year during your retirement so that you can enjoy those golden years without worrying about your money running out, would that be worth getting started with? Okay, the fourth reason why successful people choose to utilize this in their lives is because it allows them to take care of their family and future generations after they're gone. See, part of the dollar that you're putting in, or the dollars that you're putting into the policy, is in fact buying a death benefit, unlike a 401k or an IRA. So, setting up a properly structured whole life policy, having an agent do that for you, allows you to pass along wealth to future generations tax-free in most cases. And I don't know about you, but I kind of like the idea, I'm willing to admit, I like the idea of giving my family lineage a head start in this competitive world. I kind of like to be the guy who helped get that going for my family, if you know what I mean. The fifth and final reason we're going to talk about today is because it puts your dollars to work for you on autopilot, and you end up saving and growing more money than you otherwise would in most cases. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but let me ask you a personal question that you can answer for yourself. How much further ahead would you be if all you did was save, say, 20% of your income every single month for the last 10 years and did nothing else? Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, I don't think I could save 20% of my paycheck every single time, every single month. And I get it. And it's kind of funny because this reminds me of what Tony Robbins, author of Money, Master the Game, said about this idea. He was talking to his audience and he asked them, if the United States imposed a 20% tax and you had to pay this 20% tax in order to continue to live here, would you pay it? And he goes, now you'd probably complain about it. You'd maybe even threaten to move out of the country. But at the end of the day, you'd probably figure out a way to pay the 20% tax in order to stay here. And his point in all that was that, what if you imposed a 20% tax on yourself and you simply put that money into a particular financial vehicle? If you were disciplined enough to do so, your future self would thank you for doing that. So, setting up a policy where you can automatically pay in premiums either annually or monthly is a great way to achieve this so that you can secure a predictable financial future for you and your family. Got it? So at the end of the day, there's a reason why wealthy people have been utilizing this concept for over a century. And my favorite part is that you don't have to be wealthy in order to get started and benefit.
All right, I hope this video made a lot of sense to you. At least as much sense as it made to me the first time Brian went through it. It finally just cleared all the cobwebs out of my mind. And if you're sitting there and you now think using your money and growing your money at the same time in a predictable way sounds like an amazing idea, the next step I'd recommend for you is to go below the video, click on the link in our description for our masterclass. It's a free video and it's going to go into even more detail into how you can utilize the strategy for yourself. And if that makes sense to you, you can apply to have a free strategy call with one of our vetted agents and customize a blueprint on how you can utilize this strategy in your own life.
Okay.
You gotta get all the junk out to just get a little more clear on it.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Hold on, let me get in the screen a little bit better.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
That was great. I looked over it to you at the end, though. I don't know if that's bad.
Let me do it one more time. I can.
Oh, yeah, okay.